What's up, everyone? This is Positronic. With a lot of players taking a break from beta for Azeroth and putting on the seductively optimistic armor of the WoW refugee, and as someone who currently plays both MMOs to varying degrees, I wanted to put together a basic comparison guide for players that may be interested in jumping into the new season of the Feast that just started in Final Fantasy XIV. You may be saying to yourself, but bro, PvP in Final Fantasy XIV is a joke of an afterthought. And you'd be somewhat correct, as the main draw in this MMO is most certainly the PvE experience. But even with a very small PvP community handcuffed to some cumbersome battleground modes, I think the Feast is worth a look as some entertaining and easily accessible content you can get into while we all wait for Shadowbringers this summer. My goal with this guide is to outline briefly some of the major systems within the Feast, and explain the approach I took to get comfortable in this game mode coming from a background of countless hours and raid sessions in WoW PvP. For me, the learning curve included the PvP crossbar system, the medal system, the culling, the team chat interaction mechanics, and the ranking system. There are very basic requirements to enter the Feast, like being job level 30 and having completed a few quests within your grand company that are outlined in the Final Fantasy PvP Guidelines website that you can find listed in the description of this video. You need not worry about your character stats, as player attributes are all synced to a predetermined PvP counterpart inside PvP instances, and this is very similar to the WoW PvP stat templates from the Legion expansion if you remember those days. The Feast is the closest PvP mode in Final Fantasy that will give you similar feels to WoW 3v3 or 2v2 Arena. This game mode is based around a 4v4 structure of one tank, one healer, one melee DPS, and one ranged DPS. Ultimately, your team's main goal is to kill players on the other team, but there are other layers of complexity added on top of those primal needs to kill other scrubs online, so let's jump right into those details. We'll start with the PvP crossbar. The first thing you'll notice is that those magnificent hotbars you spent hours perfecting have been violated and swapped out for your PvP mode hotbars. If, like me, you weren't prepared for this, then you'd be scrambling to throw icons in the right place during that pre-match minute. Luckily, you're here absorbing this guide and you won't have that problem. With that said, I recommend traveling to the Wolves Den PvP area and getting this all squared away prior to hitting that hot join button. You can access your PvP actions and skills from the Character PvP Profile menu. Also, forget about all the time you spent perfecting the combo system with all those silly PvE buttons. Yoshi puts you in 2-button toddler mode for PvP. This means that your primary combos are now consolidated down into one button so that you press the same button and the skills within that combo will execute in sequence without you needing to provide the inputs separately in the appropriate order. For all intents and purposes, this means you can be focused on other things while still maintaining the damage or debuff results of your combos more easily. All you need to do is pretend that you're a WoW demon hunter and you'll be fine in this 2-button environment. Next up is the medal system. In addition to the obvious objective of killing folk for glory and ego strokes, each player starts the match carrying 100 medals. If a player is killed, they drop half of the current amount of medals they are carrying for the enemy team to collect. To be declared the victor with the most girth, your team will need to either collect all of the other team's medals or be holding the highest amount of medals after the 6 minutes allotted for the match have expired. Each role can carry a specific amount of maximum medals and will receive a buff or debuff in relation to that amount held. Basically, if the player is carrying more than their original 100 medals, they'll gain a stacking debuff that will increase the amount of damage taken by a percentage amount in relation to the number of medals they have. Conversely, if you're under the original 100 medal amount, you'll receive a buff that reduces incoming damage in that same model. This adds to the strategy dynamic in that you and your team need to keep an eye on which enemy is carrying the highest amount of medals, as that may change up who is the target of highest value and tactics may need to be adjusted accordingly. Luckily for everyone, the scoreboard does a great job of presenting the current state of medal distribution across the match. Within this UI element, you can see each player's class, the amount of medals they are carrying, as well as the time remaining in the match. Let's take a look at team chat interaction and items. Chat is disabled in the Feast, and your team is expected to communicate their intentions via quick chats that are bound to icons found in your PvP profile menu. This is one of the more problematic aspects of PvP, as calling targets or retreats on the fly require you to communicate that with a button press, and your party members need to be paying attention to the party chat or the alert sound, which can be distracting. In a perfect world, you're playing team ranked mode or in voice comms to alleviate this anyway. On a brighter note, the supply box items spice up the gameplay a bit by injecting resource restoration and speed bonuses via the Wolf's Heart kit, or a quick adrenaline boost from the adrenaline kit. And on that note, I should mention that each player has a personal limit break that is fed via the adrenaline bar and can lead to some really satisfying kills. Speaking of killing, let's discuss the culling time and sudden death modes. After a certain amount of time has passed in the match and no one has been killed, culling time will be initiated. All players will receive a stacking debuff that increases damage taken called Marked for Culling. To me, this mechanic is similar to dampening in WoW Arena, in that it is attempting to upset the balance of a stalemate by forcing kill conditions quickly. Once a player is killed, the culling is over and gameplay returns to normal. Even with all of these tasty ways to gain advantage on your enemies, some matches do still make it to the 6-minute mark with both teams on an even count of medals. In this case, a 2-minute sudden death round is initiated where first kill and medal collected will ensure you crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and are soon hearing the lamentations you need to hear. Our last point is the ranking system. The ranking system is relatively straightforward. With 5 tiers you can achieve to properly flex on all the lesser PvPers in the world. During your ascension from bronze to diamond, you'll be required to play in promotion qualifiers to achieve the next tier. These promotion qualifiers remind me of the rank up system in Heroes of the Storm if you've ever played that, where you can attain a specific PvP rating and then you'll need to win 3 out of the 5 of your next matches to progress into the next tier on the ladder. Outside of ranking up for reward, there are a multitude of glamour and aesthetic items located at the Wolves Den vendors that you can collect to further solidify your standing as a Final Fantasy killing machine. Overall, most of the same playstyles and strategies you would find in a WoW Arena environment are applicable here. You don't want to LOS your healer, you don't want to go dark in the tunnel and get too deep into the other team without a way to retreat and reset. You also want to do your best to coordinate with your teammates to create kill conditions and set up what little CC is available within this combat system. In conclusion, I've found the Feast to be a pretty enjoyable experience and worthwhile endeavor. It may not be as fast-paced or as reliant on silly trinkets or super ultra meta team comps as WoW Arena, but I don't really expect it to be. If I wanted to be playing WoW Arena, I would be playing WoW Arena right now. This is a different game and a different approach to PvP content and should be considered as such, even with the comparisons and similarities that they have. Hopefully you found this guide to be informative enough to at least give the Feast the old college try. If not, thanks anyway for watching. Feel free to leave comments or stop by my Twitch channel to have a drink in honor of all the PvPers raging out there no matter which realm they call home. Until next time, players.